Call to order the regular meeting of the Chino Valley Planning and Zoning Committee for December the 7th. And Commissioner Somerville, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
And in remembrance of Pearl Harbor Day, let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I forgot, but we do need to determine if we have a quorum. So could we have a roll call vote? Roll call.
Absolutely. Commissioner Welker,
Here.
Commissioner Metters, here. Commissioner Somerville,
Here.
Commissioner Switzer,
Here.
Vice Chair Pastiak,
Here.
Commissioner Penn,
Here.
and Chair Merritt is absent. Noted.
Item C on the agenda is the consent calendar. Could I have a motion for approval?
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar as written, items C1 through C5.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item D on the agenda is public hearing. First item is item Z-08-21, which is a request to rezone 4.55 acres of real property from AR4 to SR1. Staff presentation, please.
Absolutely. Thank you. Get this guy opened up here. Alrighty, good evening, Vice Chair and members of the Commission. Before you is a rezone request to rezone and divide the applicant's property further. The applicant, Mr. Roscoff, is in attendance this evening. This item was first introduced to the Commission back in April of this year. However, the applicant had requested a continuation in order to discuss some of the previously required stipulations associated with this item. These issues have been resolved and the applicant is ready to proceed with the rezoning request. The 4.55 acre subject property is located at 836 West Road 1 North and is currently used as a single family residence. To the east of the parcel is the Chino Grove subdivision and to the west is the Vista Bonita subdivision. In the area surrounding this property, the majority of properties are zoned SR1 with several AR5 properties that are under the minimum required 5 acre minimum. The applicant's request of an SR1 zoning conforms to the surrounding area. The general plan land use designation for this parcel, as well as the immediately surrounding parcels, is medium density residential, 2 acres or less. The requested zoning district of that single family residential 1 acre minimum is in conformance with the general plan. Now, the neighborhood meeting was held back on March 31st, 2021. All property owners were noticed within the 300-foot radius. 2 members of the public were in attendance and discussed what the applicant was proposing. He's proposing a rezone to split his property anywhere from 2 to 4 times, depending on the quantity is the determining factor on which process, whether it is a land split versus a minor subdivision. Will there be any road improvements required? Originally, the requirements for road improvements were much greater than what is currently required. Currently, if the applicant proceeds with the land division, he is only required to dedicate right-of-way along West Road 1 North. If he proceeds with a minor subdivision, there is a level of road improvements in the form of shoulder increasing along or shoulder additions to the road along West Road 1 North. And finally, how will the new lots gain access? He can gain access through either, scroll back here, along the frontage of West Road 1 North. There is an existing easement that exists that runs north-south, as well as continues east-west that services these properties to the north. He has the potential to utilize that, but currently that easement is substandard and would need to have some work done to it in order to be utilized. And then staff did receive an email today from a neighboring property owner directly south. Staff did provide that to you at the beginning of this meeting. They had some issues with drainage concerns in this area. However, they did state that they are not in opposition to the rezoning itself. That being said, staff is recommending that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward a recommendation of approval on this item in addition to, or with the stipulations outlined in attachment A. I will open it up for questions or discussion from the commission.
Are there any questions from the commission?
Where are you at with as far as flooding or changing the water flow?
Sure, we have
The
our public.
issue with 1 North, they're stating that seems to be a natural dam.
Sure. Frank, we do have our Public Works Director here this evening. Can turn it over to him, or if you'd like to do zoning questions first, and then we can move over to Public Works, however you commission sees fit.
Yeah, I don't really have a rezoning question, but
Okay.
more concerned with the potential flooding surrounding property.
I'll do my best to answer that, Mr. Vice Chair and Commissioners. The Road 1 North, the drainage, if you can see the contours on the map, the contour lines, when they make a V like that, the bottom of the V is the ditch. So everything is lower at the point of the V. So the water course, the natural water course goes, the shadow of the house, Will, if you can point that in with the cursor. The bottom of the flow of the water goes to the east of that house and across 1 North is the natural and historic flow of the water. There's an old culvert under 1 North for the minor flow crossings, and I imagine the major flow crossings cross over top of the road,
This is
like many places in town,
the parcel for rezoning is 306-23-028.
Correct.
to the north. So when
And
that,
that all that water from that lot flows north.
right, Chino Valley is much like the Nile. Most
Yeah.
of the town flows north.
But it does on that property. This other property, 306-23-068 flows the opposite direction, just in that spot.
No, it flows north.
It does too on that property also.
Everything's flowing from south to north.
On both
So-
these parcels.
So the letter came from the property owner to the south, which is upstream. So when this subdivision comes in, the goal is to make sure this subdivision does not back any water up on the upstream properties
Correct.
to maintain the natural and historic flow.
And that's a normal part of planning to make sure that that doesn't change any historic water flow.
Right. And as far as the property itself to the south, that's more of a public works issue with the house being built in 2014 and the road much earlier than that. And don't know of the house ever being flooded from the previous homeowner. But it was built according to all codes at the time. And that was to the south is not a subdivision. That was through a lot split process in previous years without any drainage design.
The 068 lot.
Right. All the lots to the south.
On the property that you've got highlighted, in front of it is a double road, and I believe there's a little ditch that goes along that road.
It's small. It's probably, I haven't measured it, but
Is that trying to compensate for the extra water coming up?
I'm not sure extra water.
Well, I mean, if they're saying that it's dammed on 1 North because the culvert isn't functioning.
Well,
if
1
that-
North was there before the house was there. So it's the natural flow and you accommodate that the best you can with the roadways. But that's why you put culverts in and
And the culverts are trying to
right.
run it east and west.
And the culvert will handle minor storms, and the major storms go ahead and top over the road. If you raise the road up more, it'll create more of an issue. So like I said, in the house was built in approximately 2014. I've been here since 2017. But I did speak with the previous owner in years past, and they haven't had any household flooding. This is just my testimony that I know of. The yard floods from time to time. That's a pretty good amount of water flows through all those yards from lot to lot. And with the subdivision, and the drainage design will make sure that's accommodated to the level proportional for, I think it's 4 or 5 lots top that can go in there with that.
4
zoning.
lots would be top, but he does have the option to go through the land split. So not necessarily a subdivision.
Yeah, so as with any even single lot development, it's built according to building codes.
Any development on that lot would go through planning for any kind of drainage issue.
Or built according to all our codes and standards.
Are there any other questions for staff? Is the applicant present?
Yes.
And does he wish to give a presentation or comment to us?
Thank you for having me. My name is Don Roscoff, and I think on the foot, hey, Willie, can you put that back up there for me?
Absolutely.
Just so I can kind of explain. Yeah, they kind of had me mixed up on what they're talking. So what's that? Make it quiet. You guys can hear me, huh?
They can hear here, but it's being
It's being recorded.
broadcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's a mouse.
Right here. Should be able to point out everything.
Oh, okay. I'm kind of I'm old school. Probably some of you guys are too. I don't know. But, okay, so that's the lot we're gonna work on. That's a lot we want to split. It's got a house right here. Got a shop right there. None of this floods at all. This whole piece of this 4.55 acres doesn't flood. When they're talking flood, they're talking this. This is 1 North right here. And all that water from Center Street on, all that comes down through here. So what happened right here and right here, this guy don't have a flood issue because before he built it, he had to build it kind of new, pretty savvy. This guy right here he's got a shed that kind of floods, but he built it way low. If he'd have built it high, there wouldn't have been any problem at all. This guy right here, he hadn't got water in his house yet. And, but his yard floods. Then he's got a culvert. So he's taking everything from this road, from 1 North, taking it down. And he's got a culvert going across the road to this poor soul's property. So all the water's going on this guy's property, which is me. But I told him, hey, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. Because I got a baseball field right there. I just let it water it. Still, we get some rocks. But as part of Chino, when we get a gusher, it's going to come across that road. Big time. But it's also going to catch in them roads to the south a little bit too, in their fields and in their yards. And yeah, I built this house right here up pretty high. And unless we get a gusher, even if we get a gusher, I don't get any water close to that house. But in the backyard, see, everything goes from the east to the west. So like some of my decomposed granite, it'll wash out when we get a gusher. But there really isn't nothing you can do about that. They should build a big old canal up on top to the east of that property. But a lot of people have that same issue when we get gushers, but we don't get them that often. But right here, this has no flood. Actually, I don't think none of this around here is even in the floodplain. I don't know about these guys over here, but none of this is in the floodplain. And I catch most of the brunt right here
Mhm.
Because all these guys, so there's a ditch going here. I got it all diverted to go in the middle of my property right there. Which I don't really have a problem with.
And if I may ask, when did you build that house on that lot? Do you remember?
This lot right here,
Yes, sir.
96.
Okay.
25 years probably ago.
And Road One North was there when you built
Road
it?
one north wasn't even paved when I moved here.
Okay, so they paved it after then.
I don't know if it was paved then. It might have been paved then. It was probably chip seal then.
Okay.
But when I first moved to Chino, there wasn't a paved road in Chino, but the highway. Anybody else been here that long?
Yeah.
You been here that long? What year did you move here?
1964.
Say that, baby. Mr. Welker, cool. It's nice to see some old timers like myself here. But yeah, this is, I mean, I just don't want 4.5 acres. And if I end up selling this place, I'll probably split it off into like 1.5 acres. And I might do 3 1.5 acre places. But I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet, so I want to get it zoned for 1 acres. And I might hang on to it. If I build on it, I probably won't have a mobile on it. I'll probably put a house on it. If I do any building. Does anybody have any questions for me? I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions?
I have questions, but it's concerning are we voting on, we're just voting on rezoning that area?
Yes.
We're
Yeah,
not-
just
we're
on the
not
1
approving or
acres.
Disapproving of a development or anything.
No,
No.
just a rezone right now.
Just a reason.
And I may not even do nothing down the road. Right now, my thought is in case something happens to me, at least my wife would be able to do something with that property instead of her going through all this stuff. I want to go through it and then I may do something, I may not. Right now, I probably won't for a while.
And I have one more question. Who's
Yes, sir.
responsible for the flooding of? Sorry, who's responsible for the flooding of the property south of that? Is it the public works or is it the developer or who's responsible for that?
I would think the
putting a
owner's
ditch in or a
responsible
dam.
for it. I mean, it's not the town's fault.
Yeah.
If I guess I could have told him to build it up higher when he got a permit. I mean, when they started building it, I thought that guy's gonna be in trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's kind of none of my business. I usually don't keep my mouth shut, but I did. But and he could still, the guy 3 lots into the south, he could fix that up right where none of it would get in his shed. But
So that's his responsibility.
oh
to do
yeah,
that.
definitely.
All right.
But the town probably should have made it build it up a little bit more too.
Okay.
But I don't think none of these guys were here then, were you? Yeah.
All right, thank you.
But
Thanks.
we all good?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any public comments? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing and now ask for a motion on the rezone.
Mr. Vice Chair, I make a motion to, on item Z-08-21, to forward to the town council to rezone 4.55 acres of real property from AR4 agricultural residential 5 acre minimum to SR1 single family residential 1 acre minimum.
With the stipulations as outlined in attachment A.
Yes, with stipulations that are attached.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Second item on the public hearing is T-03-21, which is a request to amend the Town of Chino Valley Uniform Development Ordinance, Chapter 154 by moving Section 3.12 SR 0.16 single-family residential and placing it in a new section 3.20 out-of-date zoning districts. Staff presentation, please.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Acting Chairman and Commission members. Lori Langberry, the Development Services Director. We are looking at the 0.16 ordinance. We've had a number of discussions about it. In the purpose statement of that ordinance, it says the intent is not to create any new 0.16 lots. And as you have experienced, that has been happening. And so with discussions with you and with the council, staff has found a direction that we can take that section of the code and put it in a different place so that it's not usable. We had originally planned to put it in the non-conforming section of the code. Our attorney recommended a different location, which is why you have additional paperwork in front of you on the dais. I apologize for all of the extra sheets, but everything that was in the packet remains the same. It's the location that's changing. So our attorney suggested that we create a section of the code called out-of-date zoning districts. So we will be taking the 0.15 if that's your desire and if council agrees, and we'll be plugging it into this new section. And what that does is it leaves it as an active section of the code, because if you have 0.16 zoning, you need to have the rules for your zoning. What it does is it doesn't let you create any new ones. We've also fortified that language in the part that's grayed out here. We tried to make it so perfectly clear that there is no possible way that anyone could pull this code district back up and use it. At the same time, later on in the agenda, we're looking at half-acre and quarter-acre lots with you again. And the whole purpose of this district, this is a 7,000 square foot lot district. If you look at the UDO, the purpose of the committee that was formed, the UDO subcommittee to do changes to the text amendment, one of the things that they wanted to focus on was to create districts that were smaller than an acre in size. So that is exactly what this group is doing, is looking at not this district, but other districts that we could put in place so that we don't have to use this district. I would love to do wholesale changes right now, but it makes sense for us to make these two changes, these two district changes, and then pause while we update the general plan. Then we'll figure out what kind of and intensity of zoning of residential districts and where we want those. Right now, it's kind of a free-for-all because there's a lot of districts in the general plan that are merged together that should be separated. And so we don't see a lot of consistency in locations of multifamily or higher density or where you can split. It's just, oh, you can do anything between here and Timbuktu in this area, and it doesn't help us shape and create a community. And so with the new general plan, we'll be able to do that. So when the new general plan is done, I anticipate this group working through a lot of more types of residential zoning district types and locations in the community. But today we're just looking at moving this one so that it can't be used again as the purpose statement has said. I don't even know for how long it said that, but when I got here, that was one of the key things that I heard as a complaint was, why do we keep doing these? And if you read the purpose statement, it says we're not supposed to do them. So what we had to do is wait for all of the cases that were in process that were using that designation to get through. And tonight you had a withdrawal on the agenda that you approved. That was our last case in process using this designation. So this is the correct time for us to move forward with this action. So our recommendation with the new paperwork is to move this SR 0.16 single family district into the new section 3.20 called out of date zoning districts. And that should solve the concern about new districts, new areas being zoned with this. So you won't be able to do that anymore. So, Mr. Chairman, that is what is before you tonight. You also have a sample of the ordinance. You have a revised action statement in the staff report so that when you make your motion, you're quoting the right sections. So that is staff's presentation, and I'm open for questions.
Are there any questions from the commission? Right, thank you.
Covered it very well. Thank you.
Are there any public comments?
Hey, so we got a town ordinance right now, right? For everything that we want to do.
I don't believe that we have, Mr. Chair.
It-
I don't believe we have every district that we want right now.
We have a town plan. You have it all labeled out,
We have a general plan that needs a complete overhaul.
Yeah.
but we did
The-
have a general plan.
We
Yeah.
do have a general plan, but it mixes commercial with high density, with low density, with up to lots up to 2 acres in size all over the place.
Okay.
And so
So you
what,
want to get it more organized.
yes,
That's not what this is doing right
gen-
now.
no,
to
but that's what the
discuss,
general
yeah.
plan
Yeah.
will do. What this did, I was just answering his questions about
So where
future
is this
districts.
place that you're gonna cut out now?
This is a 0.16 district, which if you read the purpose statement, it says that the purpose was not to make any more districts with that. What was happening was that developers were taking the PAD, which is the planned area development, and combining it with this and saying, well, we're not using the 0.16, we're using the 0.16 with the PAD. So therefore we can create this zoning district. And that was a usurping of the intent of this district. So it was supposed to be a district that was and should be no additional ones, and that wasn't what was happening.
So where
There-
was this being done here in town?
Many
There's
places.
lots of places.
Most recent, sorry.
As
Most
of
re-
right now, there's nothing between 1 acre and 0.16. There's nothing in between. So if you were a landowner that had 1 acre, you wanted to put something smaller than an acre on it, you had to get a 0.16, which is 7,000 square foot lots. In the UDO, it says the town doesn't want to do that. So it was happening even though it wasn't supposed to be happening. So our objective is to take the 0.16 and no new 0.16. Whatever's been approved already is already either built or it's been, if the final plat's been approved, it can get built. But no new 0.16. They're in the future, we're going to make other zoning for below an acre, but it won't be 0.16.
You're welcome.
And, excuse me, the public will be informed of these changes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. And we're in conversations with our regular developers that come in and take bigger pieces of land. And so they know that we're working with the commission on a 1/2 acre and 1/4 acre lots, and you guys will be recommending what those sizes are. And then
And where
we'll-
they'll be located.
well, right now, according to the general plan, they could be the same, any
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
places that this 0.16 is allowed.
And from what I remember in reading about the general plan, we're supposed to be revising these every 5 years anyway, aren't we?
Supposed to be 10, but we're moving
10, okay.
forward because we need it.
All right.
Yeah, within the next probably 4 months, we'll have a consultant on board and we will ramp up the work with the planning commission on that.
Are there any other comments from the public? If not, I close the public hearing. And now we'll entertain a motion on T-03-21.
Vice Chair, make a motion to approve and send to town council the text amendment T-03-21 as presented and reflected in attachment A subject to the staff report and information that was provided during this hearing.
I believe attachment A and B.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E on the agenda is action items, and we have none. Item F on the agenda is information items, and first presentation is from staff.
You have updates from the last council meeting?
I apologize. Off the top of my head, I cannot recall them. I will, can we continue that to the end of this meeting? I will have an update for you from the council meeting from last cycle. Okay. We'll turn this over to Lori Lineberry to start off, and then I'll chime in on the second half here.
So tonight we're going to take a look at half acre and quarter acre zoning district options. You have seen as a body the content of the half acre districts. We had talked about what kinds of uses need to go in there, what the frontage should be, what kind of animals we should have. And the area that we seem to have a lot of dialogue about was what should the minimum lot size be for half an acre? Now, everybody that's familiar with measuring acreage knows that it's not a round number. So you don't take 43,560 square feet and divide it by 2. You will never, ever see that in a zoning ordinance anywhere. What you'll see is rounded numbers. So you'll see a 20,000 or a 30,000 or a 25,000 number. And you'll see with the quarter acre that we've also given you some options. So last time we were talking about this, we were struggling with what is the effective lot size. And when you have a subdivision and there's an access easement or a roadway that a portion of it is removed, the effective size of the lot is much smaller than what you think that you're approving. And so we had a lot of discussion about what does that mean and where do we go from here? And how do we make sure this doesn't happen? And gee, if we do the 22 and we get an 18, is it 18 that we really want? So I will share with you that the staff this morning spent a good 2.5 hours grinding through what does this mean? What does it look like? Where does it go? How can we explain this to you guys so that it makes sense? Because it gets complicated once you start getting down into the weeds. And so we have a way that we think that we can avoid the effective lot area. And when you designate a lot size for this district, that will be the size of parcel that you will actually get. So when you look at if you are asking for 24,000 square feet, if we take out that roadway easement, it's only 20,000. And 20 is a little bit less than half. And then we go smaller. So what we did is look at how parcels are divided up. And when do we get an easement? And how big is that easement? And when is that even possible? So we looked at major subdivisions, minor subdivisions, and rural subsets of both of those subdivisions and lot splits to figure out when is it possible for this to even happen? And is there a way that we can work this text amendment so that we don't have to face that? And we believe that we have a way to do that. So don't know if you want to look at the quarter acre. I'm just going to do a quick look at the quarter acre. I know that we haven't really talked about that, but the UDO subcommittee was charged with looking at multiple districts that are smaller than an acre. So half an acre and a quarter acre are not unreasonable districts for us to put in place since we're taking out the 0.16, which is the 7,000 square feet. So we'll be replacing it with these two districts. So if someone wanted to subdivide smaller than an acre, they have that option. So if you look at the quarter acre district options and you go down to the 10,000 square foot lot, which sounds pretty big, but when you take out the roadway easement, you have a 6,500 square foot lot. I mean, to me, that is absolutely not what you're looking for. You know, if you're putting a 10,000 square foot lot district in place, you're expecting each lot to be 10,000 square feet, not, oh, it's 10,000 minus, 3,500 square feet for the front for roadway access. So we do have a way, we believe, to go forward so that you get the exact same size lot that you're asking for when you designate this. So I'm going to have Will come up and talk you through the things that we looked at, the things that we found, and the ways that we think with I think 3 or 4 text amendments that we'll bring forward to you, that we think that we can solve this situation and we won't have to face what's an effective lot size and what isn't.
Thank you, Lori. So Lori's correct. In order to essentially remove this concern from town code, currently we have 4 places that allow for this sort of counting this dedicated acreage or dedicated to the town acreage or acreage that is reserved for easements as part of your net acreage, which effectively reduces that lot size. So the 3 places that we really need to address it in are the minor subdivision within a lot split section, and then most notably within the definitions. We're proposing that we amend the minor subdivision section and reserve that only for lots 1 acre and greater. Within the land split lot split section, we have provision within there that if you've dedicated the town, that net acreage that you've dedicated counts or can be used whenever you submit for a land division. We're proposing that is still enacted for those that have 1 acre and greater, but if your base zoning is under 1 acre, you cannot do that. And then lastly, within the definitions, we would need to amend the definition of a lot area, define what that is for 1 acre lots and greater, and then we'll define what that is for 1 acre lots and under. And then finally, amending a definition for a flag lot that can only be used for 1 acre lots and greater as well. Happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding that if you do have them.
Will, could you talk a little bit about the minor subdivision, where it came from, how many lots that includes, and whether
Sure.
we have anything in town that meets that?
So right now, we've only had a handful of minor subdivisions that have come before council because they do not come before the Planning and Zoning Commission. Minor subdivision is any lots or any proposed division of land 10 lots and under if they create a new street, or 2 or more if they create a new street. So that is a subset within our code. It does have allowances for alleviation as far as administration process. That's why it doesn't go straight to preliminary plat. It starts in technical review and then proceeds directly to town council. And then there are some lessened requirements as far as engineering goes in the realm of geotechnical, traffic, and grading and drainage. Those concerns or those what is determined to be needed is at the discretion or the determination of the town engineer, Frank.
But tonight we're just talking about lot sizes. We're not talking about infrastructure
Correct.
improvements.
Correct. Now that we've gotten you all in the weeds.
Are there any questions for staff?
So I guess I'm a little confused.
Sure.
So if you have a 1 acre lot,
Correct.
you would have to, if you want to split it, you have to keep the effective lot size, the full. You're not allowed, if you have 1 acre, but if you have more than 1 acre, then you can go less than the stipulated rezone.
No. So I'll start with what our code currently allows. So if you have a and say you have 2 acres of property and you want to split it into 2 1 acres. You've got the appropriate zoning entitlements. It's all ready to go. If you've ever dedicated land to the town of Chino Valley for a roadway, that land that you've dedicated counts towards your splittable acreage. So you say you had 2 acres, you dedicated 5,000 feet to the town, you now have 2 acres less 5,000, but to us through a split, that is still part of your net acreage. We have code that specifically says it will not prohibit the individual from splitting their property further. So it's counted in there. It's been in code for quite a while. And we've had commitments to people made that they've dedicated their land at, previous points in time. So we're instilling
Not
that.
going to affect.
Correct. So those people will still be allowed to operate under that. Since we're taking the town in a new direction here that was always intended per the general plan, we don't really have that to contend with. So we're starting off with cutting that off completely.
And then, yeah, what are you proposing?
So what we're proposing is that it stays with that 1 acre and up. You're limited to that. So if you're splitting and you say you have 1 acre and then you want to rezone to half acre or whatever that square footage you decide tonight, and you've dedicated land, you no longer can count that in that split. And the same goes for if you're doing a subdivision with a private street that is still counted in your acreage. Scroll up here, that is described here with this easement future road affecting the effective lot area. We're making sure that it's clear within code that that is not an option for lots with zoning under 1 acre. And that's
You have
through
to keep the effective lot
to
size.
keep the effective lot size correct.
So the goal is that when you have a district that is a 20,000 square foot lot, you know that every lot is going to be a minimum of 20,000 square feet.
Correct.
So under an acre, it's really critical that we don't allow that accordion of lot sizes, that if the minimum is 20,000, that you know that you're getting a 20,000 square foot lot. Above that, there's flexibility above an acre for all kinds of things. But below that, we really need to know that there's surety for the lot size that the district says is the minimum, and that it's not a bunch of, well, if you do this and then that, it's like, no, you either have a 20,000 square foot lot or you don't. And so that's our goal for under an acre
But if you
size.
subdivided a larger parcel, you'd allow less than effective lot size to be below 20,000?
No. So that's tied to that zoning district.
That's what the road, I was talking
Yeah.
about where you can count the dedication that you've already given.
Well, on
Towards
existing,
your
on
lot
existing
size.
projects. I'm talking future projects.
So for future projects, if we take these proposed amendments in addition to these new districts, that should eliminate that criteria where you're able to utilize that dedication or that reservation of land for an easement for anything.
So if we determine that a half acre is 20,000 square foot effective, it's going to be that for every single half acre lot, period.
At a minimum, correct.
Correct, at a
Yep.
minimum.
And the same
No
would
matter
carry.
what size lot you start with.
Correct. Yep. And the same would
Parcel.
carry for the quarter acre, 10,000, wherever you land
Okay.
on that.
I have a question. And will these higher density districts be located in the same place in the town, or they be higgledy-piggledy all over the place?
So
General
that's kind of
plan.
the second plant with the general plan.
Yeah.
So right now we have that 2 acres or less, that very ambiguity of that tan district within the general plan land use area.
Yeah.
So that is pretty much anything 2 acres or less. So with the general plan rewrite that we are beginning, like Lori mentioned, we should have a consultant onboarded within the next 4 months. That process should be beginning, and we should have all of those those areas defined within that land use element through that process, through public input, as well as planning and zoning input and council.
That's about an 18-month process. So for the next year and a half, it's going to be wherever the current general plan says that you could have done the 0.16, you can do any of these, just these districts that we're looking at today.
But of course, there are other factors that go into that determination based on surrounding zonings, utilities, many other factors outside just the land use area.
And certainly people will have something to say if they have a farm ed or something. and
Absolutely.
They don't want somebody with, 50 or 60 homes next to them.
Correct.
Yeah.
So tonight, our goal really is to look at the 3 different lot sizes. If you would flip back to the, so in the half acre and in the quarter acre, if you are ready to pick a size that you are considering for what we think a quarter acre district should be it be a 12,000 square foot lot, 11,000 square foot lot, or 10,000 square foot lot? And then the same with the half acre, pick which one of those so that we can move forward to council with those recommendations.
And is it already, is staff recommending that there be a quarter acre? zone?
Yes, we are.
We're on the half acre for the minimum lot frontage. Where are you coming up with the 80 foot?
Through experience that I have in other jurisdictions, the acreage size usually increases the lot, the frontage of a lot. And so I was just looking at comparing to other jurisdictions that have similar size lots.
Because most acres, when people divide up land, is usually like 150 wide by 330 deep. And half of that would be 75. So if somebody had a 150 by 330 lot, they couldn't split it because this would say you don't have more than 80 foot. So I
So-
would like to see that as 75.
That's great. The color is red because that's something that I thought was a good conversation topic
Okay.
for change.
Yeah, like the 70 on the quarter acre, because that would be a 50-foot house and 10 foot on either side.
It's minimum setback.
Yeah. I like 75 on the half acre. Or 80. You need a motion?
Not a motion, we just need direction from the
This is-
commission.
Yeah, this is an information.
Yeah, specifically the lot size, what square footage we want to carry as a text.
I do have a question on
Sure.
it. I'm looking at be it 75 or 80 feet, but you're indicating dedication of a 50-foot depth. And if that's half a road, that would make the roadway 100 feet,
So this is at,
which would pretty much be an arterial road.
correct. So this is at worst case scenario. So this
Okay,
is
wor-
one road, not split down the middle, not shared. It's all within
Okay.
here. So I mean, you definitely could have a case where it's 80 foot or long and 25 foot wide.
Okay.
But this is
right.
worst case scenario.
And is this easement or dedicated right of way?
It's
Right.
easement
Yeah.
or private road.
Yeah.
Because if it's dedicated, then you have an effective parcel size that has its
Yeah.
property boundaries at the edge of the right of way.
Yeah.
So if you have the private easement or you have the private
Yeah.
road included in your property boundaries, then your effective lot size is smaller. That's what these
Yeah.
pictures are trying to reflect.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if some of this is going to end up being town property that's maintained for roadway.
So I'm sure Frank can chime in on this as far as what the standard is before town takes ownership on a road. I mean, I know it's subjective, but there's a certain
Like a local
standard.
road.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's the question, but yeah, as far as it's a council decision to accept roads, but generally we have construction standards that we would meet as far as right of way width and roadway construction, ditches, curb and gutter, depending on the situation, pavement, different types of pavements. And that would fall into it, but if I'm thinking right, this would, what you're saying here as far as land use goes is sometimes you have private roads that are included, that's just an easement without a right of way dedication. And sometimes you have dedicated roads accepted by the town. And that right of way, for lack of a better term, is a separate parcel.
Correct.
Than what's divided.
So can you repeat your question again there? Since I don't.
Well, I'm looking at the fact that, like, maybe on road 3 North, someone divides it. Well, 3 North should be dedicated right away rather than easement.
Correct.
I think in a subdivision, if they do private roads, it would be easement. And if they did a subdivision and they wanted the roads dedicated to the town, well, then it would be right of way. So maybe it's where it says easement of future road, it could also be dedicated right away, depending on the scenario of development.
Except if it's dedicated right of way, then your lot is reduced. So
I
it's,
understand that. Yes.
yeah.
But on certain roads, that would be the case.
Yes.
If you have a subdivision and you have dedicated the roadway, then the lot size you have left should be the exact lot size that's in the district.
Correct.
If you have if you have an easement or a private drive, that area is included in the lot size. So if it's a 24,000 square foot lot and the roadway is dedicated, you have a 24,000 square foot lot. If you have the roadway on your property and it's private or an easement, you have 4,000 square feet of land that's being used for a roadway that's not an effective use of your property. It's not in your backyard. It's the roadway that everybody's using. And so your effective lot size is not 24,000 square feet, it's 20.
Correct. But we'd have to address, like he says, if it happens to be on a 3 North, you'd have to address it to cover both situations.
I don't know how to say
I-
this any clearer.
If I may be able to help, I think it's, say you've got a subdivision that's adjacent to an arterial and perhaps that arterial hasn't had the full dedication yet. I don't think that affects the subdivision too much, because in the rezone, staff would ask to go ahead and get the right of way on, for example, 3 North. If say they own to the center of the road, we're going to ask for 40 feet and the zoning is a stipulation. And then they divide the subdivision after that, I think is what your question is. So it would be, if it's a 20,000 square foot district, after the 40 feet of 3 North comes out, then they would divide up to the 20,000. And then whether or not the roads are private would handle that.
Internally, yeah.
Yeah, they would have to take roads out
Okay.
and get left with whatever 20,000 square foot lots they have.
Thank you. Frank.
So if you've got 10
I mean,
acres, you might.
what if it wasn't a subdivision? What if someone was building a home on the road frontage?
You mean if you have an existing legal lot?
Yeah.
Then it is what it is.
And if they don't have the net effective acreage of
Whatever.
224, whatever, then they wouldn't be able to subdivide.
Yeah, and that's probably handled on a case by case basis between staff and town legal advice and all of that
Okay.
at the permit level.
I personally would like to see the effective lot size remain as large as possible on,
So you're thinking,
especially on the quarter. I mean,
Yeah.
I think if you get a 1/4 acre lot, you should have a 10,000 square foot lot.
Right. So the opportunities
Half acre
to
also, really.
have that, to have the easement or the private roadway were the things that we spent time working on this morning in terms of where could that actually happen. And those are the places that if we change the minimum lot size then we won't be facing effective lot area. Every lot will be exactly what the district says it needs to be.
And also planning for the future. Have you considered the installation of sidewalks and maybe even bike paths and bikeways and things?
A lot of those will get
Does
ironed
that
out through the
include
general
that?
plan. Absolutely. Yeah. So, Mr. Switzer, in regards to your preference, we're looking at 20,000 for the half effective lot and then 10,000 for the effective lot on the quarter.
They kind of work together. If you do the 12,000, then double that would be 24 for a half.
Yeah.
If you choose the 11, then the 22 makes sense because then you have a quarter and a half. And the same as with the 20, you take the 10.
Yeah, that's
So they kind of
the
pair
12
together.
12 effective.
yes.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
24 effective.
24.
correct.
Are there any other comments from commission?
Yes, Mr. Penn.
Is the developer selling 12,000 square feet or 8,500 square feet?
So with the effective lot area, if we're only talking what is, let me go back here. That's what we're deciding here. So if whatever you choose the effective lot area be, that maximum, if it's 12,000, the developer will sell lots at 12,000 minimum. If it's 8,500, it's 8,500 minimum.
So you still can't split an acre. Like that.
That answer.
That's okay with me.
Well, my comment being that we're looking at half acre, quarter acre, my preference would be 20,000 for a half acre and 10,000 for a quarter acre, because we know that some of it is going to have to get dedicated as right of way, and some of it is going to have to be used as recreational area, drainage area.
Absolutely.
So
Okay.
if we looked at 10,000, we could have 4 lots to an acre. 20,000, we'd have 2 lots to an acre.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
then hopefully whatever square footage is left can put into roadway drainage and any recreational areas.
Thank you.
But that's my preference. So you have
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
you
yeah.
have 2 ends of the
And
spectrum.
that's that's a great place to start
Right.
though.
I also vote for 10 and 20
Okay.
with the 75-foot frontage on the half acre.
Any-
I'd much rather go the 20, the full lot, not the easements.
Okay.
If it's right away that needs, right away comes out first and then everything else comes
Yeah.
out later.
Sure. Okay.
Mhm.
So
The roads need to come out first and then the lots need to be 20,000 square feet.
20,000.
Mhm.
Not 15 or 16.
What about on half acre? Or sorry, quarter acre.
Quarter acre is 0.16 to me, so it's the same thing.
No.
Okay.
It would be 10.
10.
10,000 then.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
still the same.
exactly.
It's Chino Metals.
Now it's 4 versus 5
This-
residents
this-
per acre.
It's gonna be Chino Metals.
Too condensed. I'd rather not even see quarter acre zone
No.
myself.
Mr. Somerville, what about you on square footage? Were you leaning?
That's not my.
Well, I was looking at the 24,000, the maximum.
Maximum. Okay.
Maximum. And yeah, I agree with I don't like to see quarter acres, but if we have to go that way, the
Yeah.
largest 12,000 square feet.
Okay.
I just don't want us to end up like Saddlewood or those places,
Understood.
too condensed.
How about you, Mr. Penn? Do you have a preference?
6,500 square feet is getting very small.
So are you
But
more?
we're not
We're
looking
not.
at that for effective. They're showing you what would have happened if they took out roadway. We're looking at effective square footage of either 10,000, 11,000, or 12,000 for a quarter acre.
Correct.
And if we do 12,000 square feet, we're only going to get 3 lots per acre. If we do 10,000, we'll get
Four.
4 lots per acre.
which is too many.
Too many? Okay.
Mhm.
How about an opinion on the half acre? Did you have a size preference there?
The 20,000 effective.
20,000 effective? Okay.
So it's 2 lots.
Are there any other comments from the commission?
Okay. So our next step, as far as consensus, I believe we're pretty down the middle.
We're pretty down the middle. So we'll bring this back and we'll have another dialogue with you. If we can get it together before the January, I mean, we've got some legal noticing and things. We might not be able to meet the January agenda, but certainly by February, we'll be back with this in a format that will be adoptable or, for you to recommend to council. And I'm expecting we'll have more conversations about 10 or 20, 12 or 24.
I just hope Chairman Merrick is here for this.
He's supposed to be.
We know
And
why
we'll
you
look
did. You
at,
split down the middle.
changing-
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're split down the middle.
Right, and we'll take the lot frontage from 80 to 75 for the half acre and keep it at 70 for the quarter acre.
And if you really want to make it simple for us visually, then make a board with little houses on it. So we can
We can accommodate something to that effect.
use a monopoly board or
Sure.
something.
Absolutely.
Well, that depends
Okay,
on
we'll
your
close
size
this
of the house.
information item.
I do have an update for the council this last cycle. So the council agreed to disband the UDO subcommittee. We are putting it on hiatus until the general plan is complete, and then we will resume our standard UDO updates through P and Z, and if so needed, that UDO updates or that committee will be reenacted to help assist with the general plan or any additional text amendments going forward. And then the item you saw last time we met was the Perkinsville 44 subdivision that did receive approval from town council. The stipulations ended up being a crosswalk and 4-way stop at the intersections of Perkinsville and North Road 1 East, as well as an additional crosswalk towards the eastern edge of the property, in line with where the dog park access is. So 2 crosswalks, 1 4-way stop is where council landed with the safety elements along Perkinsville Road.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Are there any information items from the public? If not, I'll close the information item on the agenda. And last item is motion for adjournment. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, no, baby's good.
Thank you, Gary. Taking the helm.
Thank you.